Ladies and gentlemen, shortly you're going to hear from the greatest leader the UMWA or any union's ever known, Cecil Roberts. He's given his life to the UMWA, and we have been fortunate to have his steadfast leadership for over 48 years. President Roberts fought for freedom, our freedom in Vietnam. Then he returned home and he began to fight for coal miners all across this nation. He's been a pillar of strength that's led us through our greatest battles. But when things looked impossible during these bankruptcies that started in 2012, he put a plan in place. Took us from right here in St. Louis to the nation's capital with many, many, many stops in between. I've heard it said that hard times make strong leaders. Brothers and sisters, I submit to you that Cecil Roberts has seen hard times and brought this union through those hard times. Cecil loves the UMWA and we love him right back. This video was created about Cecil's life and his accomplishments. If we had to document everything, it'd be a mini-series. So we just really hit the highlights. But I'm honored to have the opportunity to introduce this video. If you would, please.
Christian's actually going to ask you questions. He's going to be right here. I'm going to sit with him.
She said you're real shy. You try to conquer your shyness.
When he comes in the room, it's about like Nick Saban walking in the room, or Billy Graham, or somebody like that.
Cecil was like most other kids that got drafted. All poor country kids.
It was just remarkable to watch him how he could go into a hostile crowd and calm the situation.
The union is his whole life.
As soon as I got to the mine, everybody talking about Cecil Roberts.
I didn't meet Cecil till later in the 70s, but I could tell at that time that Cecil was special.
You know, Cecil's the kind of guy that when he's with his members, he's at his best.
I don't know anybody that's done more for the membership of this union than Cecil Roberts has.
Was there a moment you realized Cecil had leadership qualities even as a boy?
Not really. He was kind of a dorky kid.
Believe it or not, I was the most introverted human being you ever met in your life until probably sometime in my 20s. I was born in a company house about 15 miles up the holler, then the road ended.
Really liked living in the coal camp. I mean, good people. There wasn't a whole lot to do, of course.
Cecil grew up on the Cabin Creek side, which is the south side of the Canal River. And all coal camps at that time were just about the same. We were all poor, and none of us had anything. But one thing that we all had, we had love for one another in the community.
We never had indoor plumbing until the 7th grade. And I didn't know what it was like to flush a commode. I don't know if I guess I'd seen commodes by then, but that's the type, and it wasn't unusual for us.
He always had a lot of friends. I mean, we go to bed at night and wake up with 10 friends in the house. He was just everybody liked him. He's just very social, especially in junior high and high school. And he still has those friends today.
I never had any what I would call leadership training in my life until I went to the Army. And they sent me, the Army did. I was shocked to learn that I scored high on the exams they gave you whenever we were first drafted.
In Vietnam, You had to learn to lead or die. And it would shape you with being in a group of people that had to depend upon each other, but at the same time, it would lead you into situations that you had to show yourself.
And I get orders to go not too far from here for training engineering. I said, engineer? I don't even know what an engineer, I might spell it.
Cecil learned to depend on people, but he also learned how to get folks involved. And all of that in Vietnam, when you're doing it, was to save your life and the lives of your fellow people that was in your platoon.
I never met either one of my grandfathers. Both of them were killed in the mines before I was born. My dad was so smart. He said, boy, if you don't have it in your head, you better have it in your ass.
After he got home from Vietnam, him and one of his friends was painting the church, and he stuck a metal ladder into high voltage. And when they called for an ambulance, they said they had 2 DOAs. So he has 9 lives. This is just one of the many that he went through.
Had an airplane crash in Kentucky, and 6 or 8 UMWA members had to carry me on a stretcher out of the woods, and I survived.
Not taking anything away from anyone, but an underground miner, you was all just together in a wad. You started having rock falls or whatever. Somebody would turn to someone, what are we going to do, what are we going to do? And again, it took a calm head. It took somebody that is saying, hold on a minute. And people were anxious, and they followed Cecil.
I spent a lot of time on strike myself. I spent a lot of time leading strikes, and you learn as you go, no matter what.
Cecil had been in the Union through District 17 for many years. He knew most of these people. So while Cecil was the new guy, he was a known guy.
I'm working towards 5 years of being in the district. I get a call from Rich Trumpka. He comes down to my house and stays 2 nights. We sat on the back porch. By the way, I still live on Cabin Creek. I made it another 2 or 3 miles down the holler. So we keep talking to each other by phone, and finally I tell him, I said, look, I'll run for vice president. And we pick up John Vanderdick out of president of District 12, campaigned for 1.5 years, spent a lot of money, raised a lot of money, and we won overwhelmingly.
Everything had settled down between the leaderships. Everybody was together. And I'd say a lot of that was Rich and Cecil and John. They visited districts. They went to district conferences. They went to local unions. They had press conferences. And they brought the membership, back together as a whole.
I guess that there's a good chance that somewhere around tomorrow or late tonight that there'll be somebody looking to take me away, but that's all right. Don't worry about that. We've got some excellent leaders here. We've got a plan. If I go and John goes and Jackie goes, there's somebody going to step right into their shoes.
They're going to show up some point in time. I don't know if it's going to be tonight or in the morning or sometime in the middle of the night. I'm sure they'll show up.
Is it going to be violent, or is everything going to stay under control?
It's going to stay under control.
We can pull up to the picket line, and Cecil's with us, and this guy pulls up, old security guard. He had an automatic rifle. He's shaking. I'm gonna kill every one of you out now. Everybody, I'm ready to peek down my legs, right? I'm young, thought I was tough until I saw that gun in my face. Cecil, out of this clear blue, walks up, talks to this guy, calms him down in a calm voice, gets the guy, put the gun away in the truck, and leave. That amazed me about that man. Just amazed me. And from that day on, I said, I'm gonna follow this guy to the gates of hell and back. I think one of the best decisions that Richard Trumka ever made was sending Cecil Roberts down to Southwest Virginia to run that strike. General Patton couldn't have coordinated that strike any better than Cecil Roberts did. Cecil went down there and organized those striking miners and got them to adopt the nonviolent teachings of Dr. King and applied that to that strike.
Dr. King says there's nothing more invigorating than being in jail for a cause that you believe in, and I think that's absolutely right. There's nothing wrong with going to jail when you're trying to change an unjust system or an unjust law. Dr. King used to talk about illegal injunctions, and how if he lived somewhere else, he might understand these kind of injunctions.
I always say that the piston strike had about three major components, and one was the advance team that went down a year before the strike of staff, and obviously with what their end product was to build a good machine, a good team, educate the community on the issues, and having Cecil there after the strike hit was probably as important as all the other work put into it. So
they were still trying to set up their thugs and stuff and their bunkers and getting ready for us and every occasion, but every step Cecil was out thinking them. Just like when we took over the preparation plant, we had different groups coming from West Virginia. We had different groups coming from the DC area. We had them coming everywhere on that Sunday, and all their security guards and stuff was home sleeping or wherever they were, and we had plans of taking over the plant.
Cecil Roberts gave them something that they had never seen or anybody else had seen. And looking back on that, I think that was not only a turning point for the United Mine Workers, but I think in 1989, the fall of 1989, that was a turning point for the organized labor across this country. It was a huge risk factor involved in taking over the prep plant. But Cecil and his senior staff, they planned that. And everything had to come together. It was so many parts of that had to work. And it all came together, and it was a success. And more importantly, it got Pittston back to the bargaining table.
Of course, Rich left and went to the AFL. I remember going to the AFL convention in New York, and Cecil Roberts stood up and made a nominating speech. And let me tell you, he gave one rip-roaring speech, and we had probably 600 or 800 people there from all different unions. They'd never heard anything like that.
We all know that's who ought to be Secretary-Treasurer. I tell you this, John L. Lewis said in 1935, he this call that comes from the hearts of men, organize the unorganized. And today, the people you represent say this to you. He this call that comes from the working men and women of the United States. Make him the Secretary-Treasurer of the AFL-CIO.
Cecil Roberts is a generational leader. People like him just don't come along every day.
That to violate this pledge.
To violate this pledge.
Is to stamp me as a man.
To stamp me as a man.
Devoid of principle.
Devoid of principle.
And destitute of honor.
Destitute of honor.
Congratulations, brother.
He really led. He's been an elected official of the United Mine Workers of America almost as long as I've been alive.
I would like to say too, if you don't care, how he got us involved with a lot of different groups with the AFL, like CBTU, APRI. All of these were black groups that with labor. And we visited these groups and got to be a part of these groups in NAACP. none of this would happen without his leadership.
There was a methane explosion and there was miners trapped in mines. But these miners needed a voice. They needed someone to speak up for them. And President Roberts chose to do that.
No words can adequately describe the tragedy of April 5th. I visited personally, despite media reports, with most of the wives, children, parents, and family members of Massey who lost their lives. In these meetings, I extended to them my deepest sympathies.
We have to do better than this, and he has to do better than this. And then to have this terrible explosion take place at Upper Big Branch on top of this. This is the worst fatality rate in the industry, either way you look at it, either before the explosion or after the explosion. It's the worst. And I just have trouble with his calculations here that somehow this is the average. This isn't the average. This is deplorable is what it is. It's not average. It's not acceptable.
Well, the most difficult moment, I think, was back whenever we were trying to get the health care and the pensions for the miners. It took us, I believe, 10 years to get that done. And he never gave up. A lot of rank and file members, a lot of the board members thought that he was crazy spending the money to get that done because he'd never succeed. Cecil's not a person that ever gives up. If he gets started on something, he sees it to the end.
I think God puts people in the right place at the right time. And I think we were very fortunate and blessed to have Cecil Roberts. When we needed him the most, we had him.
All the kids, all the grandparents, thousands of people, listen to what Mother Jones said. Sure you lost. Sure you lost. But they had better than this. All you had was the Constitution of the United States of America. And any contest between bayonets and the Constitution, bayonets will win every time. But this is the important part right here. But you must fight. You must fight and lose. You must fight and win. But above all, you must fight.
And I've said many times in speeches to our members in the Midwest, we would have not had our health care and pensions if it hadn't been for Cecil Roberts. He's the one that led that fight.
I think it's important to, when you're in a position like Cecil, in leadership position, to be able to make these connections with leaders up on Capitol Hill, with leaders in state houses, with leaders in communities. Cecil's always been very, very good at that. I can tell you right now, he's got the private cell phones of members of Congress and senators, and they talk regularly. He's made those connections, and they really made a big difference when it came to protecting the health care and the pension benefits.
I think it's rather apparent as to how the membership looks at Cecil. Cecil didn't gain his popularity by being a nice guy. Cecil gained his popularity by doing his job.
Cecil was always a fighter to stand up for anybody. Wasn't one to go jump on somebody right away. He would look at them and try to negotiate with them or understand their point of view. And usually the time he explained his point of view, he would turn them.
There wasn't a speech that Cecil Roberts gave that he didn't lift spirits. Cecil had an evangelistic way about him. He had the ability to unite people in a common cause. He could lift people's spirits. He could give them hope. He gave them hope.
I don't think there's
a higher calling than being president of a labor union.
I've had a wonderful career. I'm thankful for the people that saw fit to help me originally. I'm thankful to all the friends I've made. I'm thankful for the people who have been on the executive board. I'm thankful for my friends at the AFL-CIO. I'm thankful for all of this.